I'm still surprised that so many people don't realize the reality, which is this. It's very, very, very hard to make a profit selling electric cars. Look at Xpeng, right? They've been around for years. They're still losing billions. Look at Rivian, look at Lucid, look at NIO. So many electric car manufacturers proving that it's very difficult to make a profit selling electric cars. Ford has admitted it doesn't make a profit on EVs. GM has pretty much admitted the same. People believe, or at least used to believe, thanks to several YouTube channels giving them misinformation, that BYD does not make a profit on electric cars. Well, in fact, it does. While it only made a very, very small profit on each electric car it sold in the first half of this year, or at least the first quarter of this year, things are changing. Somehow BYD has increased its profit on its electric cars by nearly 200% versus last year. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking. Great to see you. I've got to disclose this information. I am an investor in BYD, so maybe it sounds like I'm spruiking BYD. And I have ordered an Atto 3, but I'm definitely considering cancelling that order thanks to some shenanigans going on here from the Australian distributor of BYD. Now, BYD doesn't sell cars directly to customers outside of China. Outside of China, they have distributors in Europe, in Norway, in Australia, in New Zealand, in various other countries around the world, Costa Rica, India, etc., where they sell their vehicles. But BYD doesn't plan, as far as anyone knows, to sell directly like Tesla do. Tesla sell directly to the public, but BYD, they sell through distributors around the world. So essentially they have a middleman, sometimes like in Australia, several middlemen who take a little cut. They take their little dip of their toe and they take some money. Now that's obviously going to add to the challenge of making profit from selling electric cars. One of the big advantages Tesla has in making a profit from EVs is they don't do any marketing. They don't pay for marketing. So that's on average a cost added to each car globally of around $2,000. However, Tesla doesn't pay that $2,000 and that certainly helps. Another big advantage that Tesla have in making a profit from electric cars is this. They sell cars with lithium iron phosphate battery packs. That's a huge advantage, massive, massive advantage. And it's one of the key reasons why I think General Motors will never be able to sell an electric car for their claimed $30,000 and make a profit. That's the key here. Can GM sell an electric SUV for $30,000 as they promised they will? No. Yeah, sure, they can sell one for that price. Will they make a profit on it? Absolutely not. BYD has learned this the hard way. For years, they didn't make a profit from EVs. It's true that they didn't. However, that changed about a year ago. And now they're making more profit than ever before. Meaning there are now two companies on the face of the earth that are making either a good or a very, very good profit from EVs. Those are respectively BYD and Tesla. BYD has been accused, especially by the United States media, of having very slow profit growth. And I find this a bit strange considering there are no United States car manufacturers outside of Tesla who make any money from EVs at all. So saying they have slow profit growth, while it was true, it was a lot better than making a loss on electric cars, which is what pretty much everyone else is doing right now. BYD achieved a net profit of RMB 2.8 billion or $400 million in the second quarter of 2022. That's an increase of 198% from 936 million RMB in the second quarter of 2021. So an increase in profit of 198%. What does that mean? Well, BYD really didn't make any profit in the second quarter of last year. Why? They were ramping up factories. They built several factories last year and still they didn't make a loss. I think it's important to remember that. Why didn't they make a loss? Well, one of the key reasons is BYD are vertically integrated, right? They make their own battery packs. They make most of the stuff that goes into their electric cars. Plus, they sell energy storage, big energy packs and even small ones. They have power walls similar to Tesla that you can buy and use those to power your house. What else do? They make iPads for Apple. They also are one of the largest phone manufacturers in the world. Plus, of course, they manufacture batteries not only for themselves, but for other companies and for their EVs, including Tesla now as well. BYD's revenue in the second quarter of this year was $12 billion, meaning their revenue increased by 68% from around $7 billion in the second quarter of last year. However, their revenue has actually increased by more than 25% versus the first quarter of this year. So how are BYD doing this? Well, it's one of the key reasons that So how exactly are BYD now making more profit from their cars? Well, I think it's important to remember economies of scale. The more you sell of one product, the more cost effective it becomes to manufacture that product. Now that BYD make and sell so many more EVs than they used to in the past, it's helping to reduce their costs. And of course, remember, BYD only sell batteries. Well, not only, but about 95% of BYD's vehicles come with their own Blade battery pack, which is lithium iron phosphate chemistry. It's definitely a lot cheaper to manufacture a lithium iron phosphate battery than it is to manufacture a ternary battery using cobalt, nickel, aluminium, manganese, all those sorts of metals, which cost a lot more than the alternative LFP battery pack. Here's an example, right, of BYD's growth. They sold 355,000 new energy vehicles with battery packs in the second quarter. That's an increase of 255.6% from 99,828 in the same period last year. So BYD went from selling 99,800 electric cars in the second quarter of last year to 255,000 in the second quarter of this year. Clearly, right, that helped to bring their costs down per vehicle. Plus, they also streamline their manufacturing. They're working constantly on improvements in much the same way that Tesla does, trying to become more efficient, trying to become faster, trying to just do things better than they have in the past. And guess what? The Chinese people as a whole have embraced BYD. The truth is, even though BYD makes very good electric cars, the reality is that there's a lot of electric car manufacturers in China. It's a mature market. BYD is competing constantly with a huge number of other models that are similar in size, similar in specs. However, whilst BYD's electric cars in the past were considered subpar, not very good, people now consider them to be some of the best electric cars you can buy. And that's the key reason why BYD nearly has 1 million pre-orders for its cars, whereas their competitors, XPeng, Neo, Leapmotor, many others, have much smaller order books. The other big advantage BYD clearly has is it no longer sells internal combustion engine vehicles. That's a big advantage because you don't need different factories, different staff selling and manufacturing different products. You can basically build the one thing, get really good at it, streamline production, become more efficient. And that's one of the key reasons why I personally think BYD's strategy to sell so many different types of electric vehicles is maybe a mistake. Tesla clearly makes a huge profit because it sells a very small number of cars. And those cars, the 3 and the Y, share so many different parts. BYD is releasing EVs at lightning pace. It's releasing EVs at a pace that General Motors promised it would but didn't, while BYD is actually doing it. But it, of course, has to limit their productivity. But doing that, of course, has to limit BYD's actual profitability per vehicle. And that's true when you look at their profitability per car versus Tesla. Tesla still makes a lot more money per vehicle sold than BYD does. Part of that, of course, is due to the fact that BYD's average sales transaction price is a lot lower than Tesla's. So what are BYD going to do about that? They do have a plan for that. BYD are releasing a new brand. It's a sub-brand. They're going to be selling EVs for literally hundreds of thousands of dollars. Their new electric SUV apparently is going to cost around $140,000 US. I don't know why. I don't know what they're going to do to make it worth that much money. But they plan on selling vehicles like that in order to make a lot of profit per car. Luxury electric cars, they'll use their brand strength to sell them. That's their plan. All of this comes down to one thing. BYD gained a head start over all of their competition except for Tesla in the first half of the year. The way they did this was with long-term technological innovation and continued investment, achieving an explosion in product sales As electric vehicles became so popular all around the world, BYD timed this so well. They built all these factories, they ramped them up at a faster pace than anyone else in the world last year, and now they're building even more factories. Plus, they plan on building factories in Europe to manufacture EVs over there as well. In the first half of this year, BYD's share of the electric vehicle market in China was 25%. That's an increase of 7.5 percentage points according to CarNewsChina.com. During the first 6 months of this year, much to most people's amazement, 6 of the top 10 best-selling electric vehicles in China were made by BYD. 6 of the top 10. Now, what's really impressive about the fact that BYD made this profit in the second quarter of this year is that in April of this year, metals prices hit an all-time high. Lithium price hit an all-time high. It was 5 times more expensive than it was 12 months ago. So how BYD was able to navigate this challenge and still make a profit selling EVs, I'm not really 100% sure. But whatever they've done, it's incredibly impressive. And now in the second half of the year, improved supply and demand for BYD's electric cars, not only in China but all over the world, will drive their sales to an all-time record. They're certainly competing with Tesla right now. It's Tesla versus BYD. There's no one else here. There's really no one else to challenge these two automakers, and there won't be for at least a few years to come. So even though I've told you all these revenue numbers, you're probably thinking, well, yeah, so what? I mean, this is not that relevant. Maybe BYD is just making a profit from other things. I've watched the Tesla YouTube channels. They say BYD doesn't make a profit, so therefore they must not make a profit. Well, here's some facts. During the second quarter of this year, BYD's revenue was RMB 109.5 billion. In other words, their automotive revenue accounted for nearly 73% of all revenue. So if they didn't make a profit selling EVs in the first half of this year, then they would have had to have made hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars at incredible margins, really margins that are not seen in the tablet manufacturing industry or the phone manufacturing industry on a very small amount of revenue. Basically, we can clearly see here that BYD are, without question, making a profit from their electric vehicle sales. And here's what BYD had to say. Given the weak demand in the consumer electronics industry, BYD's profit in the second quarter was mainly contributed by its automotive and battery business. In fact, BYD earned an average profit of $1,200 per vehicle in the second quarter of 2022. So there you have it. We know exactly how much profit BYD makes per car, $1,200. It's not a whole lot, but in an industry where average profit margins are on average around 10%, it's pretty good. But remember, that industry is only internal combustion engine vehicles. Right now, the only 2 car makers in the world that we know of that are making a profit from electric cars are Tesla and BYD. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again on the next video. Bye-bye.